All right, Maryam, so good to have you here. I'd just love to start by hearing a little bit more about how you got to where you are today and kind of that journey and adventure.
Hi, yeah, so good to be here. It's been a long journey in this tech community, but really, I actually moved to San Francisco from LA because I wanted to be in the tech space. I was managing a distributor, Ingram Micro, and putting emerging technology products into the channel back in LA, but it was more at a smaller scale, and I just needed to have that move. So I moved here and went to Dropbox to manage channel, both Synex, the distribution partners there, and then it's been a journey since then. I've had two IPOs, one acquisition that I've been a part of, and now I've started a consulting business, and now I'm part of a super high growth, high tech security startup. And so, yeah, it's been quite a ride. I've been here for almost 7 years in the San Francisco tech space, and I've seen a lot throughout the day, so it's fun to be able to see it. And now I kind of know the story in the book, and I have the experience for some of the things, so it's much easier going than otherwise.
Yeah, amazing. And so tell us a little bit about partnerships at Dropbox. Like, what did that look like? I know a couple of people that work at Dropbox on
Yeah.
partnerships. I think like that large scale is really interesting from a partnerships perspective. Like, what did that role look like for you at that time?
Yeah, I mean, I was just so excited to be there. Dropbox was like the fanciest office and the best, some of the best peeps.
Great
But
food.
great food. That's no longer the case around here in the Bay Area. But what it was interesting because, and this is just general for a lot of orgs that we've been to, the executive team needs to make a decision whether they're all in or not with channel. And there's multiple ways of approaching how you go into partnerships. Like, do you want a two-tier distribution model? Do you like have channel as a priority? Do you have tech partnerships as a priority? Cloud partners? So all of that is part of what an executive team needs to decide on. And Dropbox went all in on the two-tier distribution model. So we signed up with Ingram Micro and Synex. We had funded heads there. We had a lot of investment that we put towards the channel. And then we hired a ton of partner sales managers as well as distribution managers and scaled super quickly to be able to manage that. But it was the beginning stages of cloud in Ingram and like getting the marketplace up and running with Ingram Micro. So a lot of the discussions that I was having with the distribution sellers was like people don't even know the cloud. I feel like what's interesting in the San Francisco like startup community, or like Dropbox is not necessarily a startup. I was there like it was almost 10 years in. But it's like we're so embedded into the community here that we think like everybody has the same thoughts and knows. But when you go out into the world, that's channel's been there for years and distribution has been there for like 50, 60 years. Like it's going to take time for them to like get accustomed to working with the cloud, storing all of their files in the cloud. Like, it's just that was an interesting thing. But we scaled super quickly, and then it was also interesting to get the sellers to understand why they should work with partners. That's always a theme that happens across wherever you are, whatever size company. Getting the sellers to be bought in on working with partners is a main factor. And then the compensation model there was also very interesting because the sellers were docked if they went through the distribution partners in the beginning, and then they changed it for the behavior. So I think setting it up the right way with the right expectations and enabling sellers is so important. And having that message come from the executive team and having the sales directors holding people accountable to make sure they're going through partners is so important, because otherwise the partner sales managers, the people on the channel team, just are like have their backs against the walls because they can't move things along unless the selling community is part of it.
Yeah, yeah. So much of the friction that partnerships teams experience in general, I think, is down to like conflicting incentives or compensation on different teams. It's like marketing creates SQOs and so does partnerships, or like the sales team is compensated on doing outbound, so they don't want to work the partner deals, or they want to like, there's so much of that that's unnecessary conflict. Like how was it structured at Dropbox so that the AEs were incentivized to work with partners when that program changed?
It needs to be comp neutral, right? So whether it goes through a distribution partner or a reseller or not, like what the AE gets comped on should be the end dollar amount that the company gets paid on, not subtracting the percentages that go towards the distribution and the channel partner. Because then you're looking at maybe 30% of the deal like going like if you take it direct you get a 30% bump, or I don't know what the percentage was, just making that up. But so unless it's comp neutral, it makes it really difficult for the sellers to want to push things through the marketplace. But and I mean that's what I'm experiencing now at Orca Security. We go through it's mainly the marketplaces for AWS, GCP, and Azure. And so for them, we keep it comp neutral. Like let's say just making numbers up right now, but like it's 10% for the marketplace for AWS, the seller still gets compensated for that. And that was very clear objective from our CRO, who really wanted to make sure that we are utilizing the marketplace because it just makes so much sense for our business model at Orca.
Yeah, yeah, and I think even smarter is when companies take it a step further and like incentivize the sales team to do business through the partners and through the marketplace. Like that's something we're doing at Deal now, where we actually give salespeople quota retirement based on if they work with partners or not, because we know that like long-term time horizon, the more revenue we're generating in the partner ecosystem, the more is going to come back to us.
Yeah.
And we've seen like amazing success with that. And so uh, Dropbox, an amazing place to kind of start your partnerships journey or to like work on that. I know like one of the partner programs that I think is most interesting that doesn't really get talked about is the Atlassian ecosystem, and I know you spent a lot of time there. Like
Yeah.
there was a tweet recently by a VC who I won't mention his name, but he basically said, "Hey, if you're unless you've gotten to like X revenue, you shouldn't ever think about channel partnerships." And like I know that, for instance, for the company that you were working at, like the majority of the revenue and business came from
Yeah.
that like partner strategy, and lots of companies are like that, and I just think that this person doesn't know what they're talking about, to be honest. But I would love to I haven't had anyone talk about Atlassian. I also haven't had anyone talk about, hey, like our key go to market was with this like kind of larger marketplace partner. Would love to just like hear a little bit about that experience and how it was constructed and everything else.
Yeah, yeah, of course. I love Atlassian. I would always make it like I think they set it up so well in the beginning, just leveraging partners all around. After Dropbox, I mean, we were at like 1,400 people. I wanted to go to a smaller startup, so I went to Gliffy, who has now been acquired, I think, by two different companies at this point. But Gliffy was like about 40 people, and it was a diagramming tool, bootstrap startup, and really it came from this the founder like created it. It's like, wait a minute, this would be cool to have inside of Atlassian. And then they met with the founder back 10 years ago. Like they had a session and then they just like, hey, we should just integrate this. Yeah, that would work. Okay, boom. So the product integrated. It was like the only diagramming tool that was integrated into Atlassian. So that goes into the fact of the product fit into the partnership is critical. Like if you are filling a gap that the original product and the partner doesn't have, then it makes such a big difference on how you can grow within that marketplace and that ecosystem. So since then, the go-to-market strategy for Gliffy was just setting up the marketplace. They did not have any sellers. Like for Gliffy, didn't have a salesperson for like 9 years. Like they brought one on the last year, I think. Everything was done through the marketplace at Atlassian. We just would leverage them. We would have marketing around that. But like really, if you wanted a diagramming tool, Gliffy had such great reviews, and everything would be like I think 90% of the deals came just straight through the marketplace. The product fit was great. The reviews were great. We listened. The product team was huge. They would always listen to feedback from customers and continuously improve the tool. So that was a really, really interesting company to be a part of, and then being a part of the Atlassian ecosystem, like you pretty much have to just like go and do channel sales with their partner community, and the partner community is so tight there. It's like having a football fan base that's only exclusive to that like team. They're amazing, and then you just have to teach them on why they would be selling you and all that, and they only sell Atlassian, and they have such services built around it. That's the thing, like they're able to charge so much for implementing and managing and all of that for Atlassian. So it just made sense for us to be one of the tools that they would sell within their stack when they service. So I think that's why it was so successful, and it just saw the sales coming. And then we got to a point where we're like, okay, we can probably elevate this by adding a sales rep and then having someone come and manage the partners, and then go from there. And then we got acquired, and then the rest is history. But I think it's really interesting if you have a great fit within the, especially Jira. I mean, Confluence was what we integrated with, but the product fit is so important, and then just positioning it the right way and making sure the product is good, um, and your marketing and reviews are good on the marketplace. That does wonders.
Yeah, absolutely love it. And how did you get plugged into that community of partners? Like, is there, was that something that your partner manager at Atlassian helped with, or were they like accessible somehow? Like, how did you find them and get kind of plugged in?
I mean, technically, we were tier one partners of Atlassian because we did so much business with them. We did have a partner manager. We even had certain like regional, like I went to Mexico City. We did like big events, like an event there where we talked about why Glyphy and all that. But I think we had a roster of the partners that were selling us. So it's just a matter of getting to know them, brokering intros. They do have channel managers. The channel managers at Atlassian, and this was a few years ago, so things might have changed, but they had quotas for making sure that their team is growing, and they had partner quotas for bringing in more partners and having stickiness within their community and their space. So it was really important for them to do that. Another thing that was super, the way we met our partners was they had user groups. So Atlassian just mobilized their community, their football team. They mobilized the team so that everybody had, it was empowered to do what they needed to do within their regions, because they didn't add a lot of salespeople. Like they just had their partner community really selling for them. So like there was a partner that had a user group within each city, and then they would have vendors come in, but you were not allowed to talk about your product. You had to talk about a use case, and they kept it very specific to the product. And I think that's what was really special about the Atlassian community. When you go to a user group, you really meet with people that are practitioners and who are like really interested in learning about the Atlassian ecosystem and what they want to sell and how they want to sell it, versus like going to something and knowing you're going to be pitched. They kept it very clean about that, and I love that. And again, they had like community leaders throughout the space, in every city, and they just mobilized and had events once a month, and it's just genius the way they did it. And then they had their annual conference once a year, so you would just come, and you would, like the leads we got were amazing. Like the, if you're in a developer focused space and you work with Jira or Confluence, I mean the people that are there are your people, so they're gonna come, and I think it all just worked well so seamlessly together.
Yeah, that's amazing. I remember doing a bunch of research on all of the different partner programs and
Mhm.
looking at Atlassian's partner program and just being amazed by how many events were being run by partners every day. You know, it's like you could look at the event calendar and it was like three or four events a day sometimes all around the world that was being run by partners. It was really amazing.
They were very marketing focused, and they gave packages. They would actually give money too for people to run events within their area. So there was a budget, there was materials, there was swag. Like they provided you with everything you needed to be able to be mobile in your city and just like grow that community. They just made it so easy, and I think, I mean, obviously it took a lot of work to get there, but it's interesting because most companies have like so much more salespeople than marketing people. At Atlassian, it was way more marketing people than sellers. I mean, they didn't even technically have any sellers. They had like community managers or whatnot. But yeah, I think that was a super interesting partner to work with, and saw a lot of success with that one.
And how did you get to that tier one level partner relationship with them in the first place? Like how,
Money,
yeah,
money, money.
yeah. Like, but how, like, how did you get so much money transacting with them? How did that happen?
Again, the founders met super early. So before Atlassian was so big, they already were embedded within, like, integrated. And so the sales would just like, it was, hey, you need a diagramming tool within Confluence, and you just bought Glyphy. A lot of it was like we were first to market, we were integrated quickly, and it took a few years for there to be competitors like I forget which one it was. Anyway, it's a minute. There's a few competitors that came on, but we had such high reviews and we just had such great sales, and the partners already knew us and were selling us, so it was harder for people to catch up. But yeah, it was the first to market thing.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. And so much of that, I think, is uh, being first to market, also having that exec level relationship. That's something that we're like fortunate enough to have at Deal, where it's like, hey, we want to partner with WeWork, and our CEO is already having a conversation there, or with Slack, or wherever else, and our team can kind of like take over and operationalize the work that's already being done by the founders, which is such an advantage. I think, like, to the original point of like not focusing on those types of partnerships, I think if the founder is like building them from day one, then they can be really, really successful. Like, so amazing stuff.
Sometimes it is luck because I
Yeah,
mean, we didn't know Atlassian was going to be such a big thing, and then
yeah,
Glyphy, I think, and he was the founder at Glyphy was so thoughtful about how his approach. He didn't take any money. He wanted to bootstrap. He was also like part of like the 5%, the 1% club to give back profits, and like being doing good in the community, like giving back, like doing volunteer work. Just it was a very unique startup that I experienced. And but the Atlassian piece is like they made a bet and they did it early, and it could have been not a great bet, but it ended up being such an amazing bet because they just saw the product fit, and I think that's important.
yeah. So cool. And then, so obviously, you kind of parlayed some of that great experience into, and not like you did a lot more amplitude than just working on the cloud partnerships. Obviously, like you picked up and landed new partners, and also like just did an amazing job going way deeper with the partnerships that we already had. But I think, like, it would be awesome to hear about your experience working with the different cloud marketplaces, because I think that really stood out when you were working at Amplitude with the rest of the team. Like
Yeah.
how much further we were able to take the AWS relationship with you working on it, and then I know that that's kind of parlayed into something that you've done quite successfully at Orca as well. So would love to just hear about your experience more broadly with the, like, working with the different cloud marketplaces, and then maybe we could kind of dig into some details on those as well.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, like I mean, my first exposure was like a side job to manage AWS with Amplitude. Like it wasn't even the main job. Um, but I think what I learned about AWS is, first of all, the product needs to be like the right fit and integrated, but there's always space for everybody within the AWS ecosystem. It's just huge, right? So, but you have to be particular about like your approach there. I think the thing with AWS is once you understand the power that they have and what it takes to actually mobilize within their community, it's also like making sure you're corralling the right people on your side. You need product involved, you need marketing, you need even a DevOps person, you need finance. Like there's so many things you need in an organization to be able to like be set up for success when you're going into the marketplaces. So you have to make sure that you have the support and you're like making your bets in the right places, and make sure everyone's educated on what it means to be part of the AWS ecosystem. Because what I experienced when we were building it at Amplitude, it was a lot of education on what it could actually mean for Amplitude's future and the growth. But I think now it's very clear. I mean, Dan's taken it to the next level now. But like it's interesting to set it up because there's always, at the end of the day, when you're selling cloud, AWS is the beginning. Like when you're talking about the change management, and like if they're on AWS as a platform, that's the beginning of a cloud native company, or like if they're migrating into the cloud. So as soon as you start working with them earlier on, then it's going to help you in the future, and they're talking to the same people, and it's just a matter of like identifying what that is. At Orca, it's been a whole nother level because we are securing a cloud environment. I mean, our whole business is based on our side scanning technology that scans the cloud providers' workloads. So we are literally sitting on top of their tool, and providing more visibility into what's going on and making it easier for them to really be secure and have more customers try and trust it. So it's a different product fit, and that has been world of a difference because it's just so easy for people to understand, right? I think the product at Amplitude, it was just harder for people to understand where the money would come from, like once we got integrated, and why people would be buying on the marketplace, because it's a different buyer as well. Like it might be a product chief product officer or someone that's buying it versus Orca. Is our CTO is the main person buying it, or like a director of IT, which tends to buy on the AWS marketplace. So it's been a lot easier to be able to work with them. In fact, like our strategy at Orca was we're only doing annual billing directly. We're doing monthly through the marketplaces. We just choose to do that because we really want to push it through the marketplace, because we see the value and the growth there. We've had instances where we unlock budget from EDPs that customers already have because everybody has a committed spend they have to make with the marketplaces. And so security is a bit, like it's an easier thing. Like everyone's considering security, so why not look at us and just try it? And then I just launched the free trial on the marketplace too, which I'm excited about. So that's coming through. But I think marketplace as a strategy was major focus of ours from the executive team like 2 years ago. AWS was a major partner focus for us, clearly because I mean 80% of the market is AWS, and obviously, but just building that motion with the partner community, the APN side as well as the marketplace side, has always been a focus at Orca. And so that's why it's been a little bit easier going. And then also with GCP and Azure, same thing. I think they're catching up to the marketplace for AWS. They're building it in a better way. But for sure, I mean, that's where I'm a strong believer in the marketplaces. I do think that's where everyone's going to go. It's just much easier. We get deals done quickly. We don't have to go through procurement and legal. We just accepted their own like legal terms. Like our legal team was great at that. They didn't have to have super specific things inside of it. So I think we've really seen that difference, and our marketplace growth has been insane. We've like tripled the number of deals we did already, and we're not even
Wow.
at year end this year.
Wow. That's amazing. And
Yeah.
it's one of the things that you noticed that you mentioned, sorry, right at the start was that you have to set the right expectations
Mm.
for what the company will see from the partnership. I mean, in like the amount of leads and business that you're doing sounds like you could have set the expectation, hey, we're going to get a bunch of leads and business. When I had Justin Forth on here previously, he said, hey, look, like you shouldn't be out there telling your exec team that you're going to generate a bunch of leads and revenue necessarily from the marketplace. Like what feedback would you have for people that are looking to kind of build out the business case or the justification for investing time and resource in these marketplaces for expectation setting internally?
Oh, yeah, great question. I think if you go back to Amazon's core, one of their pillars is like customer centric, right? Customer focused. If you think about how your customers are buying, where they're buying from, how they're purchasing, and you see that the marketplaces are part of that, then it would behoove you to make that investment to at least be there, because just making it easier for your customers to purchase you. At the end of the day, the marketplace is just another way. Like, do you want to buy it with a credit card? Do you want it cash? Do you want it with an invoice? Like, how do you want to pay for it is the thing. There's also a lot of benefits that go to the marketplace. But I would say if you're dealing with SMB companies and your buyer is the CMO, then maybe AWS's marketplace is not the right place for you because CMOs don't typically purchase on the marketplace, right? But so I think thinking about who your buyer is and always taking it back to the customer and what they're doing and what their behaviors are is really important when you're making these bigger bets on the marketplaces. 100% agree with Justin. He started me out in the right way. I love it. Like, I also think marketplace isn't going to be a huge revenue driver. And then on the APN side, you do get leads from AWS, but that takes a lot for you to be able to like It's the whole partnership bank account. You have to deposit so much for them to even turn some leads around. And also, there are smarter things you can do. I mean, if you negotiate your EDP directly with AWS, you get certain perks you can have. There's programs that you can get into once you have a certain level of deals you're registering with them on the partner side. Once they're seeing your growth on the marketplace side, then they do lean in and bring you into campaigns and into programs that will really help you then generate the leads. So I
Hmm.
think all of it is, just think of it as a way long-term investment, but make sure that your product is a good fit to that community and the buyer is buying it in the right place. And just be patient with the way. You just have to kind of do some of the check boxes, get that flywheel going, and then you will get pulled into programs and you will see a big difference.
That's awesome. And I know that you've transitioned from more of like a BD partner management, partner sales role to more of a partner marketing role
Mhm.
at Orca. And it sounds like there's definitely still like commercial elements of that role, even in partner marketing. But it would be awesome to hear, I think, both what what you see as different between the role, or like how you're approaching the role, given that you've got that experience, and then also like what advice you would have for partnerships teams on how to leverage partner marketing. Like I have a partner marketing on my team, a partner marketing person on my team right now, and would love tips from you on like what's the best way to work with partner marketing.
Yeah, it's been interesting. I think it's a way different lens that I have because I have been on the other side. So I do see it a bit differently, which has been fun to be a part of. On the partner marketing side, I think the more you can talk specific to that partner and the use cases and the product, keep it like talk about the vertical. Again, what is your customer buying? What do they want to hear? Is so important. And just it's like the two like tools just work together. Everyone kind of has the same messaging, but what does that mean for the customer? What are they going to get out of what they're doing with you? Similar to what we did with like amplitude and like braze and like let's say and particles. Like what is the stack is one thing, but like what is the customer getting out of it? So being able to tell that story specific to the customer use cases or verticals is so important. And then creating collateral pieces, doing content syndication campaigns, being super like mindful of how much you're pushing out into the market specific to that partner is important because AWS is huge, so you do webinars specific to themes, right, or whatever you need to. It's been really fun trying to think of like what are the new content pieces we can create, what are some content syndication campaigns we can have, like what are the things that we can do, because like then you see the leads coming and you see great leads coming in, and then taking that to the next level. We're actually just doing our first AWS call down day from some of the campaigns that we have. So now it's just like taking all the leads that we brought in from partner marketing and then creating email templates and talk tracks for our SDR team to build a call down day specific to AWS. Is like that's the follow through and like the different points. And we were lucky enough to be brought into some AWS led campaigns. So we did one on ransomware, and there's a second one we're in on zero trust. And those have been wonderful. I mean, you can't pay to get into those. Those are just validation of the AWS partner marketing team. Like, hey, you guys are a leader in this space, so we're going to bring you in, and you can create something off of that. So I think that's the nirvana of where to get to with cloud marketing, is for them to bring you into these kinds of programs. And the way that you do that is you make sure you have specific content to the integrations, how you work with the different AWS like services, like thematic ones, verticalized ones, and just have a calendar of all the different topics and make it partner specific, and you will see the leads come.
Amazing, amazing. Yeah, absolutely love that. Could
Mhm.
talk about this forever,
I know.
but I know we're running out of time. So one question we like to ask everyone is, what's something that you've learned recently that you'd like to share with the audience?
Yeah, that I maybe should have been a wedding planner in my life. I have a wedding top of mind right now, and there's a lot of things that are way more expensive than I thought. So, Sometimes, yeah, having a full-time job and doing that is very tough. But I think on the work side, I would say one thing that I've learned recently is like when you have a team and like it's very important for everybody to be empathetic to each other and how they're like partnerships. It's like you have experience and you come in, but a lot of people just don't understand what that experience is. So what I have learned is being kind and the way you deliver that message and make sure you're not just taking people for granted, like just re-explaining everything all the time. It's important.
Yeah, no, yeah. Matt Althauser, which I think he maybe got from Little Wayne, was like had this saying, repetition is the grandfather of learning. I
Yeah.
repeat, repetition is the grandfather of learning. And I think he got that from Lil Wayne. I want to say, but it's like all of these kind of sayings are borrowed. But I absolutely love that. Awesome. Well, Mariam, so good catching up with you, and so good to hear some of these insights. And I think people are going to be fascinated by some of this stuff. And I imagine we'll need to do a part two to dig in a little bit more deeply. I think.
Anytime. I love the partnership community, so I'm here for anything that I can help with.
Amazing. All right. Well, thank you so much.
Thanks, Ty.